before I forget. All right, so welcome back, my cloud people. I was just hearing that how a couple of things were going above our heads, and which is fine, which is completely fine. Cloud is a very interesting topic, but at the same time, it does not make sense as quickly as it should, because there are a lot of things involved in there, and there are a lot of services which are interconnected, correct? But yeah, it's cool that you guys, I was looking at the sheet and you guys were like working like super fast, getting those questions in, and probably you were researching a lot, and that's why I could also see the answers in there. Okay, so without further ado, let's do one thing. I would not go per room basis. I would say like whichever group is ready, they can present their information. What you can do is like probably share the document and go over maybe one or two services you researched on, like what do you think those services are and why it is important and why one should choose them. Maybe, I mean, just a brief idea, and maybe go over one of the question of yours and just explain that, like, how did you research on it? And that's it. Maybe you can take like, 7 to 10 minutes each group. All right. So let's see who is ready to go. And we all are learning, so we're not judging at all, Cool. Let's see which group is ready to go.
Can go first.
Okay, Alex.
Do you want us to share screen? Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, okay. You can share screen.
So you want us to just go over the question first, or some of the concepts?
I think let's do it like the concept wise first, and maybe some of the questions.
Yes, sure. So some of the material that we are covering, I'll start down here with container instances and Kubernetes services. So the main difference being that container services actually, let's go to the answer. So the Azure container, or which one am I? So the main difference between them is that with the Azure container, it's a much more efficient and faster way to basically run a container, while the Kubernetes service gives you a little bit more control over some of the customization, what they call as orchestration, so automating, managing, and interacting a large number of containers. So if you're really just trying to launch a container without having to deal with managing the virtual machine or adopting any additional services, that's what the Azure containers instances are useful for, while the Azure Kubernetes service is a more complete control over those containers that you're trying to run. So some of those questions that we kind of went over was what features does Azure offer to meet uptime requirements? And the answer to that would be virtual machine scale. They set scale sets as well as Azure batch. So those are two elements that can meet those uptime requirements. And then another question we wanted to present to everyone is maybe how can you reduce costs for Azure Virtual Desktop? And what they recommend is that if you already have the eligible Microsoft 365 license, you can just pay for the Azure resources. And as well as instead of going with pay-as-you-go prices, you can rather pay up front with a 1-year plan or a 3-year plan.
Okay, so if you go by pay-as-you-go, that would be costly for you, right? That's what.
Yeah, so they're saying that it can save you up to 72% by doing the 1 or 3 year rather than the pay-as-you-go pricing. So that's one way to save on compute costs.
Yeah, it's like a kind of like membership if you're buying a gym membership, right? I mean, if you buy upfront for a year, or if you're the member of the gym, you have to pay probably like $120 per year, or sorry, per month or something. But then if you go probably once in a week or twice in a week, you might end up paying more. So yeah.
Exactly.
Cool, cool, cool. Anything else you want to talk about?
I think another important one we were going to mention is the microservice architecture.
Hmm.
And so basically, I guess like a long definition of it is that it allows your project to be broken down into manageable pieces, and it can be updated, scaled, and as well as maintained independently of each other. So that's an important element.
Yeah, it's very important and very interesting element. I mean, if you have heard of microservices, how many of you worked on Java in Coding Dojo?
Yeah, it,
You did? Yeah. So you know what microservices are, right? I mean, most of the time, if you want to divide some, I mean, entire, see, you have like an entire big service which does everything for you. If you can divide that into small pieces, it's called like microservice, which is pretty manageable, scalable, and maintenance, I mean, low maintenance, I would say, because if at all you kind of want to change one of the microservice, you don't have to worry about other microservices and all that stuff. So good, impressive. You did a great job. And also, I mean, I'm super interested in Kubernetes and container instances. Anyone know beforehand, like before coming here, what Kubernetes are? Not Azure Kubernetes, but just the Kubernetes. Or container instances. No, yeah. So basically, see, remember when we were working on any of the environment, which is if you were working on Django before, or if you were working on .NET before, you had some kind of, you always have to do some kind of setup on your machine, right? Let's say you were working on Django, you had to install Django 3.0, then you have to do pip install this and pip install that and all that stuff, correct? And once you, if you are a black belt one, when you were deploying your project or your application on AWS, you have to do exactly the same thing. You have to install all those packages, whatever is there on your machine. Okay. So what you have to do is like whatever is there in your machine, you have to replicate that back to AWS, which is the production one. Now think of it as in when you were just working on by yourself and then you did that. But if you are working in a team where like 20 people are working on a system, they all have to keep installing exactly the same thing to be able to run the product or application or software, right? Now, if you had a test environment, if you have a development environment, and then you had a production environment, you had to do a lot. Like every time you have to keep installing. The moment you start install another package and then compile the application and put it on the cloud, and if you forget to install that particular piece on cloud, your application would not run. That's where the container or Kubernetes came in picture. Like you are not going to install anything on your machine. You're going to bring everything from the cloud. You will work in a virtual environment of the cloud as in you are working in a container. You take the container as it is, you put it in on all the machines you're working on, or your cohorts are working on. Take the exact same container, put it on dev, take the exact same container, put it on production. It would never fail because your infrastructure, this is called infrastructure as code, if you've never heard of that. Another time, maybe when we meet in some other workshop, but then it's a very, very interesting topic we all should know about, especially if you're going in interviews. It's a good thing to talk about. Cool, cool, cool. Thank you, Alex. It was interesting. Any questions for Alex or the group? Okay. No, I guess. Let's see who wants to go next. Which group wants to go next?
I can talk about the data lake analytics.
Yeah, let's go. Thank you, Gino.
All right. Yep. Please correct me anytime if I say something that's not right.
We are all learning. I mean, and you are the one who researched, so I think you will be right most of the time.
Yeah, okay. So my question here was that why is Azure Lake Analytics a SaaS?
Uh-huh.
Because of my reading, it's under big data and analytics, and here in the bottom it's Azure Data Lake Analytics. So the way I thought about it was that it's a SaaS because the way it's used is you are using the computational power and you are billed by the power being used to analyze data. So for example, you don't want to rent a whole AWS server just to analyze data. So what you're doing here is you're using just the key power requirements to analyze a set of data.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a SaaS because all you have to do is run a use SQL, which is a programming language query through their server, and you will be billed by the amount of power used. Like over here, you can use a data lake tools for Visual Studio Code, which is like an add-on, an
Extension.
extension.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and you can use the power through the Azure portal for this specific service. And yeah, that's why it is a SaaS.
Mm-hmm. I think this is the only service in the sheet which is, I think, claimed to be SaaS, I guess, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's all.
All right. Anything else? Oh, I think you have different owners. I mean, I guess Jagdeep, or are you going to talk about anything else like Databricks?
Yeah, I could talk about Databricks, but to be honest, most of it went over my head. But it's closely related to Apache Spark. So, what is Databricks? It's basically, let me see if I wrote it down here. It's when you think about Databricks or Spark, you think big data, like massive chunks of data. So it's a big scale machine learning
Mm-hmm.
collaborative environment based on Spark. So Spark came first, then I think Azure took that technology and made it their own, I guess, in a way, as a first party. So it helps them interact, I guess, in a nicer way than Spark does. And since
Mm-hmm.
it's based on Spark, it draws a lot from Spark. So it, for example, it shares a lot of commonality like scalability, security. It also supports basic functionalities like SQL and Python, lots of language support,
Mm-hmm.
and it's widely used in healthcare and banking.
Cool, cool, cool. So is it like why it is called data break? Any idea?
No, not really. Maybe the way it stores data,
The
like
way it actually
clusters.
inputs, yeah, in the way it inputs. So see, when you say it's a service which you would be using to analyze data, right? It's a
Mhm.
data analytics application or service, basically. Now, in order to analyze data, you need to have data, correct?
Mhm.
And the way it feeds in data is like in chunks. So, like brick by brick. So, it takes up the brick of data and then analyzes that. And obviously, as you said, it is highly scalable, maintainable because it is on cloud. It is much better than other services. So, it's very interesting service again. And there might be one or two questions on this service in exam. So make sure you just browse through it before you go.
Thanks.
Yeah, interesting, interesting. Yeah, I mean, all of us, I mean, um, see, whenever you talk about these concepts, keep in mind that most of the clouds, whether it's AWS cloud or Azure cloud or Google cloud, they all have similar concepts, it's just that they are called different. And some of you, I mean, might be coming from AWS. You might have some idea like what are virtual machines there. You have exactly same virtual machine in Azure. It's just that you have to set up in a different way, those kind of things. Some of the data analytics like you have here is also available in AWS, which is also called like SQS and SNS and all that stuff. So wherever you go, just keep in mind that something similar will be available in all these cloud applications. It's just that most importantly, what you need to know is when to use what service, what is the requirement, and then how to use those. So most of your questions will also be around those. It won't be like it's like a use case questions you will see in your exam, like, hey, Jagdeep is owner of a bank and he wants to transfer all the database onto the cloud, and at the end of the year he want to analyze how many customers have opened a new account and how many kind of upgraded their account and all that stuff, which service he would like to use, these kind of things, or which storage service they would use. So these kind of use case questions will come in exam. And most of the time, they won't be as straightforward because they might confuse you. And when we go to exam, we'll talk about it more. But yeah, good job, guys. Any questions for this group? No? Right. I mean, see, feel free to ask questions, because if you don't ask questions, that means you know everything about these topics, correct? But yeah, I mean, it's difficult to ask questions also when you don't know anything about it. So just ask a question like why it is a SAS or why it is a PAS, those kind of things also you can ask.
I have a
Cool.
quick question regarding testing. So let's say I created a website and I want to test, by using a Protractor tool or a Selenium tool.
Mhm.
So in this case, if I go like Azure, should I create some like unit testing sections there, integration testing there? I mean, how it works, or it will be recompiled in a GitHub?
See, those things would still lie under your project. That's nothing to do with the cloud, So if you want to create the unit testing or any kind of testing, see, if your project is in, let's say, React,
Right.
you can probably use some of the external tools, like there's a coffee with, or there's a tool called Chai, something like that. Those are like testing tools which can be integrated with your React application. It can be tested natively on your computer or on a test machine. You don't have to
Create another framework, right?
Yeah, you don't have to create it will be part of your local framework, and you don't have to buy cloud service for that.
I see. Thank you.
Mhm. Good question. Yeah, I mean, see, that's what we need to know, like where to apply these services. Just that they are available. There are like hundreds of services, right? What do I use? Do I use a SQL Server, or do I use Azure SQL Server, or do I use Azure Cosmos DB? I mean, those are the questions you need to ask yourself. And individual projects, I mean, you would just be deploying it. But if you are working in an organization wherein your website is kind of probably getting millions of hit, let's say you developed a website which is an e-commerce website, right? Now, and you are selling some funky t-shirts with those funny parrots on it, depending on what you want to. And during some particular time of the year, the load on your website is too much, in that case, you will have to decide that, oh, okay, do I use a load balancer there, and then you will have to decide, like, do I use a load balancer always, or should I use a load balancer only and only when my website is getting hit, like continuous hit from different part of the world? Do I need to deploy my website in different AZs, which is availability zones and all that? So it'll come with the practice and see. This certification is very fundamental thing. You don't have to know so much about these services in detail, like how they work, but then you just need to scratch the surface, like they exist. Right? Cool.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. All right, let's see who would like to go next. I think we had 2 groups left. Azure App Services, Cosmos DB, Azure Functions, or SQL Database, PostgreDB, whatever we know, whatever I see a lot of you came up with good questions and answers there. So it's a good cheat sheet for all of us.
Well, I'll try something. I
Yes,
don't know.
sir.
I don't know what I was doing. This is more like an inductive approach to learning instead of deductive. You throw the term out, then you say, "What is the term?" Then you have to find out what the term means. Then you say, "Oh, that's how you use it, and that's what it's for."
That's
So,
what the research is about, right? Good for
right.
you.
It's more inductive. It's not deductive. I was a deductive learner at first. I was very deductive because I come from the math field, the mathematics field, and they would tell you first, and then you go practice. But
We are learning in a
here
different way.
I looked at it. I looked at the sheet. I said, "What? First of all, what is it?" So being
Okay.
inductive, I'm trying to figure out what it is and what I'm supposed to do with it, or what we're supposed to do with it. And then after we figure out what we will we gradually figure out what we're supposed to do with it, then we start doing stuff with it. But probably with this concern, I don't know if my other comrades around are available, and they did most of the conversation. I was just trying to figure out. Probably the best question that probably can be asked is question number 6.
You would like to share your screen, Tara?
Sure, I sure will. Let me share my screen real quick. Let me see what screen am I on. Hopefully I get the right one shared. I got several screens open. You see it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The question number 6 that I have is Azure, however you say the word. See, I'm trying to figure out how to say the word myself. But
Azure. Yeah,
Azure. And I learned these terms just about a couple hours ago. It was an IaaS or PaaS, or what kind of services is it? And basically all these SQL databases, we come to the conclusion. The other fellow comes to the conclusion that they're all PaaS services. And basically,
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
And basically, they come to that conclusion, and that was a good question. And I'll figure out that probably the best question to ask to start off with, and that's what we started. That's what the individual started off with asking that question, and then going through the list with SQL database, SQL management instance, and MySQL and Postgres SQL. So I figured that's probably the best question to ask at first.
Yeah, it's an excellent question.
Okay.
Because you would definitely need to know what kind of service is this, and that's why we have model type along with all the services. So did you find the answer? Like why it is a PaaS, or are you still looking for the answer?
Why is it what?
Why it is a PaaS, which is platform as a service?
I'll put an answer along with it. I try to answer it and look on the internet for the answer with it.
Okay. So you did put the answer along with that, not in the answer tab. Okay, I got it. Right.
Right. I didn't know where answer tab was at. That's why I said this is all inductive. You said answer tab. I said, where's the answer tab at?
Okay, it's here. It's here, down right here. This one. Do you see that now?
No, my screen's not large enough to see right now.
Okay, no problem. It's on the bottom. Not a problem, not a problem. We just needed the answer wherever it is.
I'll
But
put
yeah,
I'll put the answer in with the question on that.
okay. That works too. So when I'm looking at the answer here, what you have written is Azure SQL database is fully managed platform as a service, because when you say PaaS, it is platform as a service, right? SaaS
Right.
is software as a service. And there's another service which is called infrastructure as a service. Okay,
Right.
so these are the three terms. And it says database engine that handles most of the database management functions, such as, let me see, your answer is, okay. Database management functions such as upgrading, patching, backups, and monitoring without user involvement. Very good answer. Very good answer. Would you like to explain this? Or,
I'll research the answer.
okay.
I researched the answer. Like I say, I didn't know.
Okay.
This is inductive. I'm learning as I go. When I'm finished with this, I say, oh, that's what they was asking. That's what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And inductive learning really is a better type of learning than deductive, because you figure out what you don't know and you try to answer it, and then the answer sticks with you.
Exactly. Exactly.
It sticks with you.
Yeah. So let's elaborate this one a little bit before we move on to the next group. See, when you say the last thing which you have written is without user involvement, that's why it is SaaS. See, SaaS is something, there is any other examples, any services, you guys, which are SaaS, which you are using currently? Any application?
That is like Google. Let's see, Google Documents.
Google Documents, right? Yeah, exactly. Anything else which you use like everyday basis? Yeah, Google Documents are definitely one of them. So I'm just looking for more here. If you Visual Studio Code, yeah, perfect example again. Yeah, so your Gmail is another SaaS thing, because it's a software as a service. It's a software wherein you can just use it. So when he said like you can use a service, but you cannot make a lot of changes or amendments there, right? Just like infrastructure as a service, you can decide like, okay, how much RAM my virtual machine should have, what should be the performance, and based on that, I will be buying some resources or I'll be paying as I go, But when you're using something, MySQL or SQL database, when you're saying like SQL database or any database per se, it's in between both, it's not the SaaS or not infrastructure as a service. It's a PaaS. It's like there is a middle ground. You can use this service, but to be able to use this service, you have to make some settings, or you may want to change few things. That's why it is PaaS. And most of the databases are like that. I mean, you cannot just use them without making some changes or without making some queries and all that. But let's say MS Word or Excel or Gmail, you don't know what is happening behind the scene. You would just send an email and it'll go, right? What you can do is probably you can change some settings. You have control over there, but you don't have a control like if your Gmail is not working, you might want to have another availability zone and have your Gmail working. That's not possible, right? That's possible with infrastructure as a service. But then with the PaaS thing, you have like middle ground. It's above the ground a little bit, but you don't have entire control on things. You have like a little bit of control on things on these services. So excellent. It's like, I always love this example. I'm sure you must have discussed this with Will in morning session, what is SaaS and what is PaaS and all that stuff. So it's like very simple example is cooking as a service. What do you think cooking as a service you have around you? Not your wife or your husband. what else is there? I mean, cooking as a service. When I say cooking, I go to the kitchen, I cut my vegetables and I put everything myself. I decide how much water I need or what spices I need to add and all that stuff. So that's all in my control. But if I don't want to do it, I want to just eat and I'm just worried about the food. What do you think cooking as a service is? There is a service which is available to you. Order, yeah.
It's probably IaaS. If you go to a
Infrastructure.
restaurant, right? If you go to a restaurant,
See,
then
if
have them-
if you're cooking, then
no.
it
If
is
I'm cooking, it's probably a PaaS.
if you're cooking, then it is an infrastructure as a service, right? Because you
Right.
will decide everything.
Right.
Right?
Right. If I'm cooking, right. But if I'm
Yeah.
going to a restaurant, it's SaaS, right?
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
what I meant. That's what I meant. I got to turn around, okay?
Yeah, just remember this small funny example, like driving as a service. You know, if you are driving, then it is infrastructure as a service, because you decide the speed, you decide how you know, which lane you want to drive, where you want to go. That's infrastructure as a service. You have control over all the resources. But then when you are working, when you just call an Uber, what you tell the Uber guy, like, hey, I want to just go from here to here. Now that guy decide what, you know, what the speed should be, which route he takes and all that stuff. You have no control over things. So that's a SaaS again. Cool. Awesome. Sorry for the divergent, but then, yeah. Cool. Thank you, Tyron. Do you like to talk about, like, would you like to talk about anything else?
Probably not the only. I probably wrote most of the questions, but except the third one, and I was just writing stuff.
Okay.
Because we didn't understand exactly what to do. We understood the middle section was or PaaS or whatever. Some other guy was talking about that because he probably worked with this before, but I never worked with it before. It's brand new to me.
And was it Jordan? Because he left, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think it was him. Yeah.
Yeah. He had a meeting or something. Cool.
But after the day, I guarantee you I would have a better knowledge of it.
Oh, I already know that. You don't have to promise me that. I'm super proud of all of you. Cool.
Could
awesome.
you stop sharing my screen? Because right now my screen is stop sharing it. I don't know if you could do it. I have to do it or whatever. I had to close down.
Yeah, you have to stop sharing your screen if you can.
I don't even see the button to share out.
Okay, I got it. All right, let's see. Oh, still it's showing. Can you all see my screen?
No.
No?
Let me see if I can do it.
Click on view options up top and then click on your screen in order to do it.
Can you, yeah, do you see stop sharing? No?
Mute, I see a mute, rename, a pin. Cause my screen is total.
At the very top.
I'm at the very top. I clicked on the dot continuations, and on clicking on that, I don't
Does
see
it say
anything.
view options?
Maybe someone, even I'm trying from here to share my screen, but it's not happening. Can you?
Maybe I
the
need to
next-
close it.
I can see your screen, Rita.
You can see
It's
my
just
screen
that-
now?
I just closed the window and just sign in. Maybe that stopped sharing it with it. Think that. So
Okay, but then whenever I stop sharing it, it go back to Tyron's screen. So let's do one thing. Whosoever wants to go next, like the last.
I'm
group.
gonna quit my screen and come back in. Maybe it.
Okay. No problem. All right, let's see. Okay, so he's gonna come back. Meanwhile, let's see who wants to grow from the last group, which is, I guess, very interesting one again. Azure Functions, Cosmos DB. Love those services. Kaylee, Jason.
Yeah, I can start.
You can go. Okay.
Yeah.
Start sharing your screen. Mhm.
So it worked. Okay.
You
Okay.
hijacked our screen, like all of us.
Okay.
Cool. So Kaylee is going from the last group. All right, Kaylee.
Yeah. I would just present my question. So Cosmo TV. My question is it a global district relational database? No, actually, the Cosmo TV is a NoSQL database. So right now it handles like a 3 type of non-relational data. It's like a document database and graphic database and key value database. So although it's a non-SQL, it still can use the SQL to query the Cosmo DB. And the other question is about the Azure function. So the question is, if once you write a function, do you start getting charged? The answer is no. Like you can write as many code as you want, but you won't get charged until you start running it. So also to explain a little bit more, like what's the Azure function? It's a serverless. It's a serverless service. Means that you don't need a server to run it. You don't need to create the ECS instance and run from there. This way you save more money, because every time you start running an ECS instance, you already start getting charged, even you don't run your program. And you don't have to worry about a downtime, that if your instance it's not running and you're not able to, every time you want to run, you have to bring up your instance. So how, yeah, the other question I will let the other two members to answer. This is my, this is my understanding. I learned it from just now to come out the question.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, it's really, really interesting. Like a couple of terms which you used, I'll definitely have some questions on that. If anyone have any questions on that, I mean, they can definitely ask those before I ask.
I just have a quick question. When you say non-relational database, is that like talking about those like foreign keys where you have one depend on the other? Is that what it is? Like MongoDB is a non-relational database. Is that?
One interesting thing I forgot to mention for Cosmo DB is it only runs on Azure, although like a MongoDB you can run everywhere, right? But Cosmo DB is only resides in Azure. And so it supports 3 type of database. So one of the kind is like maybe related to your question, it's a key and value database. So when you query, you can use a key to query the value. But I'm not familiar with database, the other two. So maybe that's all I know.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's a very, very good question, Jagdeep. Is Cosmos DB something like MongoDB? How many of you have you worked on MongoDB before, Jagdeep?
Yeah, I did. I did in my MERN stack.
MERN stack. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, in MERN, right? So how do you have those key value pairs? And when you talk about if you did not do MERN, I think if you're coming only from Python, you might not know what non-relational databases are. You know, what is non-relational database is like how you have in your SQL is like there are two tables and they are connected to each other like foreign keys and primary keys and all that stuff, right? But in document based database, which is MongoDB or Cosmos DB also, everything is stored in one table, like everything is stored as in document. Okay. And you don't have to, let's say you are storing a user, so you will say user, and then whenever you are appending a new user, probably you would append that in an array kind of format, you know. So you can have nested information also in databases in MongoDB as well as in Cosmos DB. So they are very, very close. Cosmos DB provide you a lot more flexibilities in order to, like, you can also connect to the graph database. You can also connect, and also Cosmos DB provide you some kind of APIs, you know, on top of it. Like if I just use an annotation too, and if I try to explain that to you guys, this is, let's say this is Cosmos DB. Okay, now let's say your application wants to talk to Cosmos DB and you just want to write your queries in terms of SQL. You have a API which you can use. So like one pipe, which you, so from here, you're going to just, you know, give SQL like queries and you can use data from Cosmos DB. Now, maybe if you want to fetch data in a way like how MongoDB does, there is another API for that. And you can pull data from there the way MongoDB does. So it's like, you know, a centralized database doesn't care, like you're working on something different system and you want to query data in the way you want to, you can do it, and your Cosmos DB will behave like that. But at the bottom, it uses some kind of, I guess, I'm forgetting the term, but it uses raw data. It stores in a different form. And if you look at the Cosmos DB data, it looks exactly like MongoDB, key value pair data. Makes sense. It's a very interesting topic again. And yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Another interesting thing she talked, Kelly, thanks for sharing Azure functions with us. They are the most powerful and they are the most popular things in cloud. Whether if you're working in AWS, there are Lambda functions, if you have heard of, you know, if you can look up. They're exactly like Azure functions. And Azure functions are basically, when she said, it's a serverless. So remember one thing, when you say it is serverless, it is not exactly serverless. It's just that you don't have to procure server for these functions. You know, it will automatically create a server when the function is running and shut it down when the function is not running. All right. So it's not, it is called serverless because you do not procure server, but then it's again, it's like, it's not an infrastructure as a service because you're not worried about infrastructure. It's again on top of infrastructure as a service, wherein your functions will take care of creating the servers or shutting them down or procuring any other thing they need to. And these are like event driven. Event driven is something like this. Let's say you have something, you're creating a website, which is the moment a user comes here and buys something. So let's say there's a user and he clicks on this button buy, and this user should get an email confirmation on this purchase, you know. So the moment you click on this button, there should be an email sent, you know. Now, what you can do is this, because this is event driven, or you can write a function which is Azure function and it would automatically do that for you. Or if you, it's a better example for this is like batches which you want to run. Like at the end of the month, maybe what you want to do is, these are my loyal customers. Let's say I have Jagdeep, and then I have Richard, and I have Tara and Kaylee. These are my customers who keep on shopping with me. So what I want to do at the end of the month, I want to send them a gift voucher of $50, like, hey, keep doing it, and whatever, So for this, do I have to go and click on the button every time? I can click a batch job, but then instead of doing that, what I can do is I can create an Azure function, which will automatically trigger at the end of the month or whatever, and it will send an email to them with $50 voucher. So it's event driven, and what you need to do, if you want to put this kind of function or this kind of service on cloud, you might have to buy an instance and probably keep it running, but then if you do it through Azure function, you don't have to do that. You just write the function, and the function will only and only activate on 30th or 31st of the month, and only for probably 2 minutes it will run, and it'll shut off all the infrastructure you're supposed to use. So, and it's going to charge you only for those 2 minutes, right? So it's pretty cool to use Azure functions. It saves tons of money for people who work on batch jobs, and if you want to do something event driven. Very interesting topic again. I just wanted to talk about these things so that you know a little bit of all these services which we did, and probably you have to go and dive deeper again, but you can use this sheet as in your cheat sheet, like where do I have to look and what are the most important things. So you all did excellent job here. I mean, great. Any other questions on functions or Cosmos DB or anything else before we move on to the next section?
I think Austin and Jason has want to say something about your question. You can start sharing now.
Thank you, Kaylee. Interesting findings. All right, so I have, I think I decided to talk too much, but then if we want, we can take like 5 minutes break, or then come back and do one of the practice exam, and I'll talk about what all, when are you going to get the vouchers and everything. Is that okay? I know this break was supposed to be 15 minutes, but let's make it 5.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to stretch it too long. Maybe we'll spend 15 or 20 more minutes after that, and then I'll let you go and find your own cloud. All right, I'll stop recording for now, and I'll come back in 5 minutes. I'll be right here. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Welcome back, guys. We did a lot of learning. I mean, learning and then self-learning, and we went through a couple of really interesting and overly complicated concepts probably we have never heard of, like USQL or Cosmos DB, or why something is SaaS, something is not SaaS, it is PaaS or something else, those kind of things. Now, before we go today, let me share my screen. What we have left is, let's do one practice exam together so that we know how our exam would look like. This is given by Microsoft platform only. And also, I want to tell you, there will be a survey which will come, and we would definitely need your feedback, how to improve upon or what to improve upon. Let us know. there are a couple of tests. We'll just take one or two, depending on how you want to do it. And I'll talk about the vouchers and things like that just after we take practice exam. Okay. So how does these practice exam looks like? So if you have this link, or you will have this slide deck tomorrow. So when you click on this link, it will take you there. All right. Now, there are some different categories you can take exam on, practice exam on, or you can just take, all of these, okay? Now, these are very close to, not exactly what is there in the exam, but the questions will have the similar pattern, So let's start with something which is very, very basic, describe cloud concepts, because this is what also was covered, and we also discovered some of the topics in cloud. All right. So what we will do is we'll go over this question and the options here, and majority wins, I guess, and we'll decide like which option is, according to you guys, is correct, and probably we'll brainstorm a little bit. And that's how we'll do all the questions available in the test. We'll submit the test and we'll have a results. Cool. So let's start. Are you all ready? Ready or not? Here we go. The first question is, an organization plans to migrate its application named Quick App 1 to Azure. As per the observed pattern, Quick App 1 has a low users during the second and fourth week, and high users during the first and third week of the month. Which among is the following benefit of Azure Cloud Service will support cost management for this kind of usage pattern? Now, what is interesting here is this. Elasticity. All of you. Wow. What can someone explain, like, why elasticity? Why not load balancing?
It scales at different times of uses. Auto scales. It auto scales.
Correct. It allows for auto scaling of resources. Okay. So anonymously, okay, we all will go with elasticity. Cool. All right. Second question. I might not read it out loud. Do you want me to? We'll just read it, and then, yeah, let me know what you think. All of us know. Anyone? Why no? Tyron, are you talking on mute? Yeah, database is PaaS and VM is infrastructure as a service. Thank you, Charles. Right. So you have to be like, it's a very simple question. Maybe we just discussed that, right? So he wants something, he's suggesting a solution with the software as a service, but then, and then he's saying that use Azure virtual machines and SQL database, which is nowhere software as a service. Cool. So does not meet the requirement. Let's see the next one. Mm-hmm. Op expenditure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so see this type of questions, I think you guys are getting it super quickly. Subscription based. Okay. Yeah, that's nice. See, some questions, if you're not 100% sure, maybe you want to just eliminate something which is not at all, an option. Like the company plan to migrate some of the servers to Azure pay as you go subscription, right? Which of the given expenditure model? Now, when you say expenditure model, public cloud is not even a choice, right? Then we are left with 3. Then there is Azure reservation. I mean, this is not even, not at all, it's not a model. So then you're left with operating expenditure or capital expenditure. And then probably you can choose what do you think? Why, like one of you can describe why not capital expenditure? Why operating expenditure?
Because it says what it says. It's on premises environment, right? So it can be
Exactly. Yeah, it's exactly in the question, like on premises environment, and then it's like pay as you go. So it's basically, it cannot be capital, or maybe we don't know. We don't, yeah, cap is a full payment upfront. Yes, Jason, that's a great one too. Cool. So we are going with op expenditure. Cool. This group is like rocking. You guys should just register and then get your certification by this weekend. I'm not kidding, okay? I'm just laughing because I'm happy to see such a involved group, and you guys are doing awesome. That's why. All right, the next one. Mm-hmm. Last option. Yeah, let's read this. Company plans to migrate its application servers hosted on premises to Azure. It's simple as if like you have an application and you want to host it on cloud, right? Which of the following is a key advantage? So this is a very, very simple question. Like, don't overthink. Sometimes it's a simple question, like it's saying, what is the advantage of a cloud, or what is a cloud basically? So first one is public cloud is owned by the public. Is it an open source thing? I mean, it's not, right? Azure is not owned by us, correct? It is owned by Microsoft. AWS is not owned by us. It is owned by Amazon. Google Cloud is not owned by us. It is owned by Google, right? So this is not at all an option. Now, public cloud is free shared entity that is crowdfunded by the public and it is accessible by everyone. No, that's also not an option, because it is, see, you can, it's not that whatever I put it on the cloud, it is accessible to you unless and until I provide you access to that, correct? So that's not a right thing. Public cloud is used exclusively by a single business or organization. No, but another question on this question, Can you have a private cloud? Yes, no.
Yes.
Yes, you can have a private cloud. Exactly. You can have a private cloud. You can tell Microsoft, like, I want to use all this infrastructure as a service or software as a service and all these things, but I don't want to host my application or my environment onto Azure because I want to control everything. And then, yes, they can provide you an environment. You can have your own cloud there, which is called private cloud. But in this case, what they're asking is, which of the following is a key advantage? So this is not even, you know, an advantage of cloud. So the last one is public cloud is shared entity operated by third. Oops, I already selected that. Public cloud is shared entity operated by a third-party cloud service provider that various corporations can use. Sounds like it. And that's what you all said. So let's choose this one. And okay, they have only 5 questions in this. Let's see the last one. Tricky, is it? Is the ability of a system to remain up and running even in case one of its component is non-functional, like an outage on a single Azure data center. That's the first time we are having second thought. Some of us are saying fault tolerance and some of us are saying agility. So what it is asking is the ability of a system to remain up and running even in case of components is non-functional, like some components are non-functional, but still some part of it would be still running. Is it fault tolerance or agility, elasticity, scalability? Let's do one thing. Could it be scalability?
No, can't be.
It can be. What about elasticity? We just did elasticity in the first option, right? So yeah, I'm not saying that it cannot be the answer, but then it was for different purposes. So it's between fault tolerance and agility. What do you guys think?
Agility, you can change or add resources. I think it's fault tolerance.
Agility is for speed and flexibility, usually based on how many virtual machines. We can take more time on this and think about it. It could be fault tolerance or agility. And some of us are saying it cannot be fault tolerance at all because it could be something like one, even if your services are affected, it keeps running. Kelly is saying fault tolerance. We can research a little bit on this. What is fault tolerance in Azure, or what is agility in Azure, right? Redundancy is the key to the fault tolerance in the Windows Azure SQL database. Each of 3 replicas of database is stored on a different node. Replicas of each databases are scattered across nodes such as no two copies reside in the same failure domain. Let's see. Let's read more on this. So it says every database is replicated before it's even provided to customer to use, in the replicas are maintained until the database is dropped by the customer. Each of 3 replicas of databases is stored on different node. Replicas of each databases are scattered across nodes such that no 2 copies reside in the same failure domain, under the same network switch, or in the same rack. This could be final answer. Or what is agility? Agility in Azure. Oops, sorry about that. In the cloud computing context, agility often refers to the ability to rapidly develop, test, and launch software applications that drive business growth. So yeah, okay. So I'll go with the majority wins. And let's go with fault tolerance. And this is the last question. Oh, sorry, fault tolerance. Do we want to change anything? We're all good, right? Let's hit the submit test and fingers crossed. Oh, wow. Perfect score. Awesome, guys. You did great. I mean, yeah, I mean, you all were guessing and we just had one question we had doubt on, so which is really cool, right? Now there are a lot of other tests available on different, and every time I think when you click on this, you might get a different test. But let's do one thing. Let's go back to what, yeah, we had here. So this is what the practice test is. I'm going to, how many questions are there on the actual exam? Jason, very good question. You can go to here. Azure. I am an AWS developer certified. I'm not Azure certified. I've never taken this, but more than, you need to have like, yeah, 70% passing.
Probably 40 to 50, 60.
There are 60 questions.
40 to 60.
40 to 60. Why 40 to 60? There might be just one number, right?
I guess.
They might have some like fixed number. So how many questions are there? Download exam skill outline.
$30 at the least.
Oh yeah, more than 30 for sure. There might be 60 to 70 questions. Exam duration 85 minutes. Why it's okay, 40 to 60 questions is saying, which you have to appear in 85 minutes. The passing marks for the exam will be 700 and you will have no penalty for any incorrect answer, which is good. So you might just want to, you know, if you don't get it, maybe do your best guess. Yeah. So 40 to 60 questions. This is different. I mean, this is strange also, like they randomly decide it should be 40 or 50 or 59, maybe. Yes. Cool. So yeah, these are the practice tests for you. I mean, maybe you want to do a little bit of reading before you dive into these exams. Jason, like, no way, no five questions, that's it. All right. Okay, let's see. Sorry, go ahead.
I said one can hope.
One can hope for sure. Yeah. You'll be surprised with your own. See, most of the questions you will probably find it simple, and because you just can put some common sense into it, and then you might just get it right. But I'm not saying that you need to guess. The whole idea here is to learn cloud, right? And don't think that once you have the certification and you can go and show it to your employers and say, hey, I'm certified, can you hire me? No one does that. No one does that, because you need to know the cloud. And probably if you are going into business side, it's good for you just to get this certification. But if you are going to the next level, which is you want to be a developer or an architect, probably take a route, start with this so that you understand the format of the exam and how to sit in front of computer when someone is watching you all the time, and they will not let you even move your body. Like if you I remember I did my AWS certification like a couple of months back, and it was so if you go here, let's see, how do you Azure 900 exam. You can take it with Pearson or with Certiport. I took it with Pearson, and he was like, I want to see both your hands all the time, and I have to just keep my hands like that. And he was like, okay, you cannot even read anything out loud. Like you cannot even move your lips. You just have to stare at the screen. And then, so if you are that kind of person, I would like to read the question. Like maybe I would mumble a little bit, but then he would not let me do that. So, some of the things, if you want to be prepared for those kind of exams, but it's simple. And I mean, be at home, have no noise, send your kids or whatever family to a movie, and then just give the exam. Cool. All right, so what are we expecting? What are you expecting tomorrow in email is whatever we worked on today, including the slide deck and the Excel sheet, whatever, the copy of your pub trivia, so you don't lose your work. All that will come to you. You will get a voucher in the email, which will expire on November 15th. So if I were you, and if I am keen, and because you have spent so much time, you already have so much knowledge on this, I would say schedule it right away, and now you don't have to schedule it for next week. Even if you're ready, like before like this date, now November 15th, schedule it anytime, even on November 14th, schedule it now so that something is coming and you have put the money in there. And you will be ready and prepared for this. If you keep on waiting, I mean, it's a human tendency that you will feel like, okay, no, maybe not, this is not a thing for me, or something like that. And you could have achieved this, but you would not. So I would suggest that please enroll it as soon as you can. Okay, so what else you will get, like the voucher you will get, wherein you have like 50% off, and I guess Will must have talked through all this thing. You just have to pay $50, so you get 50% off using this voucher. And yeah, more details will be sending you in the email, and the document will be shared with you guys. So when you are actually, don't do it right now, don't schedule it today, but once you get the email, that time you have to schedule it. And when you're paying, that time you have to enter the voucher code. Okay, so that it doesn't charge you this much. It would just charge you, I guess, $50. All right, so yeah, that's about it. I guess you are all Coding Dojo Cloud certified, as per not Microsoft Cloud certified, but yeah. And don't stop here, I would say. Don't stop here. Once you have this, go to the next level. Cloud is super interesting. It's super fun. So learn it, practice it, and excel into it. That's the way it should be. Any questions?
Just quick question. Sorry, go ahead.
No, my question was, what about those who have are visually impaired?
Like about the testing, you're saying?
Yes.
That's a very good question. I might want to come back to you like on this thing. I'm not 100% sure if you can take online or there might be some assistance for you, like someone can read the question and you can just answer the questions. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'll get back to you on this. Is that
Right.
okay?
It's not the first time it happens, but it's just a question.
Yeah, it's a very, very important question. Thanks for asking. I'll get back to you on this, Tyron. I have your email. So me or will get back to you. All right. We had
just a question. So to prepare for exam, so we will be given like all these materials, right? Tomorrow.
Yes.
So all these slides, and it will be enough to kind of satisfy to meet these requirements, right?
Yes. So even if like this, sorry, this guy here, right? I give you the link to this page, right? In your Excel sheet. Okay. This talks about all the services cloud provides. So you will be going through all that and all the material which you need, and probably take some couple of tests so that you know what type of questions are asked, and that should be suffice for the exam.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. First one is, I plan to take the AI and the data classes too, and then take the exam. Do I have to pass this exam in order for me to move on to the next?
No, you don't have to. No, you don't have to. It is good to do this because it's a foundational one, and there is no prerequisite for this. But yeah, you don't have to do this one. It's good to do. I mean, it'll give you.
I'll definitely do it. I just wanted to know, like, if I have to do this in order for me to progress on to the next topic.
No, you don't have to. No.
Sure. And as far as the practice tests go, all of them are like 5 questions long, or is there like a full length?
I guess, let's see, describe core. It has 10 questions and understand cloud concept, just 3 questions, depending on different. So if you click on this all, it has 10 questions. And I guess every time it gives you different set of questions here. So maybe what you can do is practice all these first. This just have 1 question and 5 questions and all that, and do all these first, and then go to all and do all that, and probably do it a couple of times so you get all the questions in there.
Good idea. Thank you.
Cool.
On the right side on this page we're on, it says that there's a practice exams for a price. Are they worth it, do you think? Or
I don't think so. No, I think you can find a lot of other resources online.
Okay. Like from other websites.
Yeah, you don't have to.
There's tons of sites that have like free practice exams, and also like free training materials as well. Especially for the AZ900, since it's like a fundamental one. I mean, just my personal opinion. I mean, if it was one of the more advanced, like expert level ones, I would say probably, pay for